is advised.
Hey everyone, welcome to the discussion for the Relics of Rajavihara. Now this is a game that I typically don't ever actually back or play because I am not a pure solo gamer. When the run-throughs that I do for the channel that are solo, they're usually solo variants, and they are strictly for the channel. Very rarely will I actually be like, ooh, I want to play a board game solo. So whenever I looked up this one and I saw kind of the idea, it was a puzzle game, it was solo only, and I was like, okay, sure, why not? It'll be a good game for the channel. But I gotta say, this is actually a pretty delightful solo experience. Like, it's one that I wouldn't be like oppressed or whatever to come down and be like, oh yeah, I'll actually break out a quick challenge of this, because it is exactly that. Most solo games for me, the reason why I don't tend to play them solo is the setup. It's just like, I don't want to set up a game just for me to play by myself. But this one, yeah, you quickly take out a level, pull one out, or just follow it, oh, okay, well, here's level 1-1, and then you set it up and by just boom, 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 and you go from there. Now, this still has, this isn't a game without its flaws, but I will say that even in box 1, now I will say I've only done the first level, like the first floor, and there's 5. The main reason for that is I didn't want to spoil anything for anyone watching, because kind of once you see the challenges, oh, okay, I know how to beat that. But other than that, playing the first 10 levels, because each floor has 10 levels, so there's 50 challenges. Like, the first one, I was like, oh no, like, this game is going to be just a go through the motions, just, alright, I did that, yay, I'm really glad I'm by myself. But even in going into straight to number 2, I was like, oh, okay, wait a minute, there's something here. And then the third one, I'm like, oh, okay, I'm starting to get it. And, and then they would kind of go back and forth. Like, the fourth one, I'd be like, oh, okay, I see it. But then, like, fifth, sixth, I'd have to actually kind of think about how you want to maneuver. And according to the designers, there's multiple ways to solve a challenge. Probably not for all of them, but at least for most of them. And there were no computer simulations used to track, like, to have a computer figure out a path. This reminds me of, there was a computer game years ago that I played in high school. Oh man, I really wish I could remember. But it basically had these kinds of paths. Like, you had a path. You had a 2x2 block. It was you had a 2x2 block that you could rotate and then turn up on its own and then flip it. So like, you had the 2 blocks. You could flip it, lift it up on its vertical, and then flip it over. And you had to get it vertical into a hole in the in the maze. I absolutely love that. I specifically remember, side tangent here, going into my geometry class in high school, because my school had, if you had perfect attendance, you didn't have to take the final. And if you did, it only helped your grades. So yeah, perfect attendance all through high school, and then it tanked when I got into college. Anyway, I remember going into geometry class, and they're like, oh, you're taking the final. I had like a B or an A or whatever, and it was like, and I'm like, no, and I sat on the computer and I played that game. This game reminds me of that. Not inherently, but you are moving these blocks to achieve various goals. The main one, of course, getting these gems, and these are just aesthetic. They don't do anything, except there is one rule where you can't, if they're whatever reason on the floor or underneath a block, you can't drop a block that would crush it. But you do drop a block to crush your nemesis, because you really hate this guy. Anyway, now what makes this game actually pretty fun is the challenge, and it can be very frustrating. However, in a challenging puzzle-like game, you get to quickly reset. The challenges are not so intricate that you're just like disheartened. Oh god, I moved a block wrong, and you could just be like, oh, I didn't do that. This is a board game. You can physically just say you didn't do that instead of resetting the whole thing. But if you want to be a purist and you're like, you know what, I really messed up. Basically, the only time I reset was whenever I did do a lot of steps to get where I needed, and I realized, oh, that wasn't right. And then I'm like, okay, I'll just quickly set up. But it's so easy. Like, you just, if your setup is like this, and you just have a few blocks, you're just like, oh, okay, these just go like that goes like that, boom, that goes like that, and voila, whatever you want to do with the gems. Then, okay, that's the setup, and then you have your person. And then you just start over. So the resetting isn't the end of the world. In fact, like, there was a time where I had actually gotten a gem, and I just reset with the few blocks that I had, because I was like, okay, I know that that's right, but like, that part was right, but I'm messing up somewhere else, so maybe I'll reset a little bit, which I did, and I would encourage you to do so as well, just so you don't have to redo the challenge over and over. But here are a few things that I have problems with this. Any game that kind of reminds me of a video game, I tend to be like, well, why don't I play the video game instead? And that's not inherently true about this one, because I don't even remember the video game I'm thinking of. But the other one is, you have two rules, really, with this game. How you move and how you push blocks. The movement of your person seems so useless to even have this, that it's more aesthetic than anything. It's you pretending that you're moving a person on and actually pushing these blocks. Other than that, I cannot see a reason why this figure exists. Because you could very much be like, oh, like, if you understand the rules of how blocks move, okay, if it hits a wall, you have to be able to push it away from you, and you have to be able to stand on the other side. So essentially, nothing can be like, if two things are touching, if two crates are touching, you can't be over here and push them. Like, you can't push them together. You'd have to basically move that down to move it over. And that's kind of what I feel like most people are gonna do. That, because the way movement states is that you can move straight, up, down, left, right, in any number of spaces. The way I was initially playing this game was kind of like that old Pokemon puzzle where you kind of had to maneuver, ice blocks around to where whenever you had to stop, then you can move down, then you can move blocks. That's what I thought. But the any number of spaces statement makes it seem like, oh, okay, well, if I need to get to this, the right side of that crate, I can just do so. But you can move diagonal, but it's like, okay, well, here, I don't have to move diagonal. I can just get there. So movement just feels kind of useless because there's not, at least in the first 10, there's not puzzles that are going to require you to be like, oh, how am I going to move? And you kind of probably start out that way. Well, like, certain challenges will just be like, oh, hey, like, you start off in a blocked spot, so now obviously you can't move. But the way pushing blocks works, it's also very just lightly just mentioned. It's, in fact, the wording for me was initially like, I was very confused that, oh, you always have to have a block on the other side. No, you can, whenever you push, like, okay, I push this block over there, this one falls. Okay, now I can climb up. And my initial thought was you had to get a block over like that. And you do to keep them at the same level, but you are allowed to push a block to where it falls. And that's not, at least for me, it wasn't 100% clear, because otherwise, I mean, the challenges would be insanely hard. But they do a pretty good job at kind of instructing you as to how to play. I very much enjoyed the first level, because the 1-1 was pretty simple, but then it did kind of ramp up, and you have pretty much the same variety, but then it kind of is like, oh, here's a different challenge, like, and then it's pretty easy with that challenge, and then it ramps up from there. Each box will incorporate, like, the first world has these crates The second one, I don't want to spoil it, but it does have a different type. And it mentions that in the rulebook. There are different types of crates that will have different rules. But even in the first world, I keep saying world, like, because it's 1-1, I'm thinking Mario. In the first floor, there was some challenge. There was actually one level, I'll even level, I think it was 1-9. 1-9 just stumped me because of the way I went about. It wasn't obviously designed to be like, oh, you're an idiot. It was, I just went about it the wrong way. And I'm like, what am I missing here? Like, I kept trying to you work with what I had, and I'm like, there's no way, because it needs to be like this. And then I look back at the setup, and I'm like, oh, okay, I figured it out. And that's rewarding. That's why, one of the reasons why I got it, because I don't have many puzzle games. And I'm like, you know what, that'd be a nice addition. And because it is rewarding. You sit here and you're stumped and you're frustrated and you're just like, this game's fucking stupid. I'm gonna find out where Joe Slack lives. I'm gonna kick his ass. And then he comes in and beats the shit out of me anyway. But it's like, whenever you figure it out, you're like, oh man, yes, I did it. And that is a nice feeling. Another small negative, which isn't that big of a negative, but it is with puzzle games. So like with this one, you do have 50 challenges, and if as the floors go on, you will they're going to get harder. Like hell, even unless it would actually be kind of upsetting is like if floor 2, like they're like, hey, we introduced a new rule, so now it's going to be easy up until the last half. Like, I would love for this game to get progressively harder. Like, the fact that it introduced a new block, it's still hard. Like, that would be nice, to where once you're on floor 5, you pull out the first one for floor 5, and you're just like, this is impossible. Like, without even, like, attempting anything, you're just like, this can't be done. That is what I'm wanting. Because once you figure out the way, oh, hey, I know exactly how, the one that stumped me, 1 through 9, I know how to do that now. So you kind of don't have to even really touch the board. You already know that you've done it. In fact, that's why I think kind of movement is kind of useless, because it's the blocks. So like whenever they're set up, you can just be like, you don't even have to move them around. You can just be like, okay, I know this one can get there legally. I know I can get that there. I can move that. Okay, I can put that there. I can move that. I can put that there. I can put that. I can get that, get that there, move that. And then I can, and you can very much do that. Just to save you a bit of time. The actual movement and kind of rules of pushing, you just have to know. But yeah, so then you're just like, well, okay, I know how to solve that. I will never have to do the floor again. There isn't any variety when it comes to those challenges again. But there is a silver lining to that, which is really cool. I like when games do this. Is one, there's a Facebook page that I guess you can join. But it does say, watch for new Relics of Rajavihara expansions on Kickstarter. New challenges await you. So they're gonna make expansions, so that's probably just going to be more challenges. And then the other one is the way that this is set up, which I think is kind of what they're wanting, is fan-made levels. Like it on here, it's the Facebook group, and you can chat with other players, share tips and tricks, and who gives no, and create your own levels. And I think that is actually pretty cool. This is one of those games that does allow for the puzzle group. Be like, hey, here's one level I designed that wasn't in the floors. See if you can beat it. And you can either print those off, or you can just look at it and be like, oh, okay. So it needs all the blocks. So we have, it's like, why? Why did he do that? Why did he have it to where every single block is stacked in the middle? And then, you're probably going to get people who are like this, who will be like, oh, okay. Then there's the gem on top of that. Figure out how to get it. Which this might be a legitimate level. I have no idea. Because you can push. I would hate whoever did that, but you can push. Okay. Blocks out from underneath. So what if you did that? And then, so you had to build your staircase. So you had to push this away. And then, but that's just the idea. I'm actually intrigued if this is even a level. Like, if you could actually do that. Like, because then you can push this one out. And then you find the guy who actually designed that, which is apparently me right now, and you burn his house down. No, don't do that. Don't burn my house down. But that is cool. This is one of the few games that I can think of that players... I mean, Gloomhaven is a dungeon crawl that people have created. There's a massive fan-made expansion about to come out, but for something like this that people don't have to spend a shit ton of money on or be scared they're going to get, like, sued... this one allows for the community to be like, hey, here's a challenge. I haven't seen any, but maybe it's on the Facebook group that I haven't joined. So I'm excited. I'm excited to see what the floors await. I think this is a really cool theme. The theme is virtually not there in any way, but that's not the point. There is some theme. This is something that you can also, like, because I don't remember how much this was on Kickstarter, but if you can find it, maybe on their website, you can finish the 50 challenges and you can pass it on to a friend and be like, hey, like, see what you think. See if you can beat this one too, and then keep track of which ones were hard for you, and then be like, hey, yeah, this one actually was really difficult. And then they could be like, you're an idiot. That was the easiest one, but this one was hard. And then you go back and forth. So, yeah, I am pleasantly surprised. I'm actually really glad the movement isn't like that, because that would, it would, I mean, it would allow this to be a reason, because you would have to keep track of how he's moving, or she, I think in his case, yeah, how she's moving. But other than that, yeah, you don't really need this yet, anyway. So yeah, that was the Relics of Rajavihara. I'm looking forward to some expansions. And as for a rating, on a scale of 1 to 10, I think I'm going to give this an 8 out of 10. Yeah, this one's really good. It very much surprised me, because here's one other thing. It does say a solo campaign and adventure by Joe Slack. The way, and once again, this is obviously just how I initially just remembered it when it came my way, was, oh, wait a minute, like, I thought there was, like, a story, like this was a huge, like, kind of sprawling campaign, but it's not. It's a puzzle game. But, yeah, 8 out of 10. So that's my thoughts on the Relics of Rajavihara. Let me know what you think of the game in the comments below. Other than that, like, comment, share, and subscribe, and have a wonderful whatever time of day it is for you. Hey everyone, thank you for watching, and I really hope that you enjoyed the video. If you would like to see more of my content, go ahead and click that subscribe button and the bell to be notified whenever I upload any new content. If you feel like supporting the channel, you can go ahead and click that Patreon link to be taken to my Patreon, and any help is truly appreciated. Other than that, stick around for any other run-throughs or reviews or cool top 10s or whatever I feel like putting on. Other than that, like, comment, share, and subscribe, and have a wonderful whatever time of day it is for you.